from ancient philosophers debating the ideal state to modern citizens protesting inequality, the quest for justice has been an enduring human endeavor. We demand fairness, seek redress for wrongs, and strive for a world where everyone gets what they deserve. But what does justice truly mean? Is it equality of outcome, equality of opportunity, or something else entirely? And in our increasingly complex and divided world, what does a truly fair society actually look like? This isn't merely a legal or political question. It's a deep philosophical challenge that touches every aspect of human life. The concept of justice is a labyrinth, filled with competing ideals, moral dilemmas, and practical complexities. This video will delve into the justice maze. We'll explore the rich history of justice philosophy, examining how great thinkers have grappled with its meaning. More importantly, we'll seek to understand what it means to build a truly fair society in an age of profound disparities and conflicting ideologies. The question of justice has captivated philosophers for millennia. Their attempts to define it have laid the groundwork for our understanding of society, law, and morality. Plato and the just state in the Republic. Plato envisioned an ideal state where justice meant every individual and every class rulers. Soldiers, producers performed their specific function to the best of their ability, contributing to the harmonious whole. This was a form of meritocracy based on natural aptitudes, where philosophers ruled. For Plato, justice wasn't about individual rights as much as the well-being and order of the collective. Aristotle and distributive justice. Aristotle distinguished between various forms of justice. He focused on distributive justice, which concerns the fair allocation of resources, honors, and opportunities based on merit or contribution. For him, equals should be treated equally and unequals unequally, but in proportion to their relevant differences. He also discussed rectificatory justice, correcting wrongs through punishment or compensation. Nietzsche quote indirectly relate all of justice. Justice is a mask that hides revenge. This provocative statement, which we might explore in the discussion, suggests that some forms of justice, particularly those focused on punishment, might be rooted in darker, more primal human impulses rather than pure ideals. The Enlightenment era brought a new focus on individual rights and social contracts. Social contract theorists Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau, philosophers like John Locke, argued that justice arises from a social contract where individuals agree to give up some freedoms to a governing authority in exchange for the protection of their natural rights: life, liberty, property. A just society, then, respects these inherent rights and operates with the consent of the governed. These foundational ideas, though diverse, highlight a central tension. Is justice about individual rights, collective well-being, merit, or equality? And how do these ideals translate into a complex modern society? In the contemporary world, the debate around justice often revolves around two core, sometimes conflicting, principles: equality and merit. Equality of opportunity versus equality of outcome. Equality of opportunity advocates for ensuring that everyone has an equal chance to succeed, regardless of their background. This often involves removing barriers, for example, discrimination, and providing access to education and resources. Equality of outcome advocates for a society where everyone ends up with similar levels of wealth, resources, or well-being. This might require redistribution of resources to achieve a more level playing field. Visual, a stylized graphic of several runners starting a race. Enonce inequality, the same line. In another, equality of outcome. Some start further back or ahead, or are given boosts, to ensure they all finish at the same time. Show the tension, debate between these two approaches, meritocracy and its limits. A pure meritocracy rewards individuals based on their talent, effort, and achievement, while seemingly fair. Critics argue that it often fails to account for starting line disparities. Not everyone starts with the same opportunities, talents, nature versus nurture, or societal advantages. Luck, external factors beyond individual control often play a significant role in success. The deserving poor. If success is purely about merit, does that imply the less successful are simply less deserving? Nietzsche quote on a judgment. The doctrine of free will was invented, essentially for the purpose of punishment, that is, of finding guilty. This can be interpreted to suggest that our deep desire to attribute merit or blame, and thus justice, relies on a simplified view of individual control, ignoring deeper influences. These dilemmas force us to ask, is it truly fair if those with less talent or opportunity, despite working hard, achieve less? Or is it unfair to redistribute the rewards of hard work and talent to achieve more equal outcomes? The answers are rarely simple. One of the most influential modern philosophers on justice is John Rawls. With his groundbreaking work, A Theory of Justice, Rawls sought to define principles of justice that rational individuals would agree upon, even if they were unaware of their own position in society. Rawls proposed a thought experiment, the veil of ignorance, and the original position. Imagine you are to design the rules of a society, but you do not know your social status, class, or background, your race, gender, or age, your natural abilities, intelligence, or strength, your personal values, beliefs, or conception of the good life. From behind this veil, what principles of justice would you choose? Rawls argued that rational, self-interested individuals, wanting to protect themselves in case they ended up in the worst possible position, would choose two main principles. The liberty principle. Each person is to have an equal right to the most extensive scheme of equal basic liberties compatible with a similar scheme of liberties for others, for example, freedom of speech, assembly, property. The difference principle. Social and economic inequalities are to be arranged so that they are both to the greatest benefit of the least advantaged. Attached to offices and positions open to all under conditions of fair equality of opportunity. Rawls quote, "Justice is the first virtue of social institutions, as truth is of systems of thought, a theory of justice." Rawls's framework attempts to bridge the gap between individual liberty and social equality, providing a philosophical basis for a just society that prioritizes the vulnerable without stifling individual initiative entirely. It provides a powerful tool for analyzing whether our current institutions are truly fair. Applying these philosophical frameworks to the real world reveals the true complexity of the justice maze. Our societies are not designed behind a veil of ignorance. They are products of history, power, and often injustice. Consider these ongoing challenges. Historical injustices. How do we rectify past wrongs, for example? Colonialism, slavery, systemic discrimination that continue to impact present generations. Is retributive justice punishment or restorative justice repairing harm more appropriate? Global inequality. In an interconnected world, is it just for some nations to accumulate vast wealth while others suffer extreme poverty? What moral obligations do affluent societies have towards less fortunate ones? Environmental justice. Who bears the burden of environmental degradation? Often, it's the most vulnerable communities. Is it just to prioritize economic growth over ecological sustainability? Algorithmic bias. As AI, from our first video, becomes more prevalent, how do we ensure that algorithms, which shape everything from loan applications to criminal justice, are fair and don't perpetuate existing biases? Nietzsche quota punish. To speak of right and wrong is to speak of the will to punish. This reminds us that our desire for justice often carries a punitive impulse. Navigating these complexities requires more than simple slogans. It demands critical thinking, empathy, and a willingness to engage in difficult dialogues about power, privilege, and responsibility. It requires us to continuously re-examine our own assumptions about what constitutes a fair outcome. The quest for a truly fair society is an ongoing, evolving project. It is not a fixed destination, but a continuous striving, a constant re-evaluation of our values and institutions. The epochal mind recognizes that justice is not merely an abstract ideal, but a lived experience that shapes every individual's life. Itcaluesto cultivat empathie, and as perspectives of those who are different from us, especially the marginalized. Practice critical self-reflection, continuously question our own assumptions about fairness, merit, and deservingness. Advocate for systemic change. Recognize that personal virtue alone is not enough. We must also work to dismantle unjust structures and build more equitable systems. Prioritize the vulnerable, adopt a difference principle in our thinking, ensuring that any societal arrangements ultimately benefit those who are least advantaged. The justice maze is complex, but it is not impassable. By engaging with these profound philosophical questions, by cultivating both intellectual rigor and compassionate action, we can move closer to building a society that truly embodies fairness, equity, and human flourishing for all.